That way, you're creating the opportunity for you to have exactly that happen to you. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you see it in your mind as working out, closing the deal, getting someone to buy the product, whatever it is, and if you're selling brake linings to a hardware store, you can see the brake linings on the shelf and you can see the receipt. You can practice that image and see it and then operate on that image. If it doesn't work out, let's start from that premise, which I don't even let in, because I know it will. And when you know it will, it will. But if it doesn't, you say, all right, instead of, see, this guy's wrong, I knew that this karma stuff, and I don't want to hear any more of this stuff. You don't do that. You say, there's something in this for me. It's not supposed to be working out right now. I wonder what I can do to learn from that. Let me re-examine it. Let me look at it. You don't blame anybody else. All right, blame must go. If you are going into a tax audit and you believe that it's not going to work out, you're going to act out on that auditing image that you have in your mind. You will not prepare yourself in the same way as if you believe that you're not going to have to pay more taxes and that you've been an honest taxpayer and that you filled out your forms properly and that you are entitled to not have to pay additional taxes. And that's how you're going to operate, and you get an accountant who believes that as well. You go in from that premise, you'll find yourself having much, much less difficulty than if you go and say, oh, they're going to look through my records, it's going to take 2 days, they have no right to go through all of these things, I hate it when they do this. And you go through this whole process, you are creating what it is that you don't want for yourself, because you're going to operate and behave on the basis of whatever image you have. If you believe it's going to be nasty, you're going to start behaving in ways to have that outcome come about. If you want to get a parking place, you can image yourself seeing one. Instead of looking for no place to park, you begin to see yourself as having one. If you want to have health, you begin to see yourself looking and feeling and acting the way you want to, and never detracting from that picture. And you can make that happen for yourself in your life. If you don't want negative things to go on in your life, then practice visualizing and having positive affirmations toward the things that you previously thought negatively about. I like the example of calling the phone company and asking them if they can come out and fix your phone. And if they say to you, well, we'll be there by noon because we can't give you an exact time, you will find that if you put the phone down and say, they're not going to come, I know they're not. They never have before, and they always abuse us. And how dare they say that? And you start waiting for them not to come by 11 o'clock when they haven't arrived yet. All you're doing is getting yourself more and more upset and helping them not to come. Not in the sense of that if you visualize it, that's going to get the truck there. I'm not saying that, although I'm not discounting that either. What I'm saying is that if you image them coming and they're not there yet, what you will do is start acting on the image of them being there. And you'll pick up the phone at 11 o'clock and you'll say, I'd like to see if your image is consistent with mine. Can you tell me what time that truck will be there? You start acting in ways to bring about what you want, rather than waiting till 12 o'clock, walking out, storming mad, and never having done anything to correct it. Your thought processes create the images that you have. Those images create the behavior. And you can't back one up from the other unless you're willing to think that it's going to work out, and that's the premise you're operating from. That's a very important point for people if they want to be enlightened. If you believe that it's going to work out, then you'll start to see opportunities. If you don't, then you'll see obstacles. Choosing your own greatness. The choices we are faced with every day of our lives determine the direction in which we grow, the ways in which we change, or if we change or grow at all. Taking responsibility for your own life, not blaming others, building loving relationships, discovering the power of forgiveness. Goal setting. You have been listening as Dr. Dyer's personal experiences have illuminated the importance of these positive life choices. We now would like to introduce you to yet another side of Wayne Dyer in this very special recording, never before heard in this form. It is an essay written and read by Dr. Dyer at a time in his life when he was first ready to express the underlying principle upon which all his realization of inner strengthening has been built. And to this day, he advocates that all of humanity, all of us, can work toward making choices that lead us to true self-actualization. In this essay, Dr. Dyer speaks of a person, a portrait, if you will, of someone who is completely self-actualized, not as a mythical person, not as a goal for anyone, but as a look at what it can mean to be alive and functioning at one's fullest potential. Let's listen now as Dr. Dyer describes the circumstances which led him to draw this portrait of the kind of free-spirited person we all desire to be. I had just talked to my daughter. We had a beautiful conversation about her first experience on a horse in horseback riding. I finished talking to her, and I felt so loving and so good and so happy that she was willing to try so many things that so many kids her age were afraid of. I said, "This is the moment." I went upstairs and sealed myself off. When I came down, this is exactly word for word what I wrote without one correction. The person who is devoid of all erroneous zone behavior may seem to be a fictional character to you, but being free from erroneous zone activities is not a mythological concept, nor a fictionalized account of a Superman created in the mind of a dreamy novelist. Being fully functioning is a very real possibility for you, and complete present moment mental health can be a choice. The rest of this final zone is devoted to a description of how a person who is free from erroneous zones thinks and behaves both in mind and actual living experiences. You will see this development of an individual who is quite unique, separated out from the majority of people, and always distinguishable by an uncanny ability to be creatively alive in virtually all life-space moments. Non-erroneous zone people, which I now call NES and EZ, are different from the normals in our world. While they look very much like everyone else, if you observe very closely, you'll note distinct qualities, none of which are racial, socioeconomic, or sexual, which disconnects them from so many other people. They do not fit neatly into any role definition, job descriptions, geographic patterns, educational levels, or financial statistics. There's a different quality about them, but the different part is not discernible by scanning the traditional external factors that typify many efforts at classifying people. They may be rich or poor, male or female, black or white, living anywhere, doing just about anything. And yet they are different in that they have no erroneous zones. How can you tell when you run into a NEZ person? Watch them, listen to them. This is what you'll discover. First and most obviously, you see a person who likes virtually everything about life. Yep, this is a liker. A person who is comfortable doing just about anything, and one who wastes no time in complaining or wishing that things were otherwise. They are enthusiastic about life, and they want all that they can get out of it. They like picnics and movies, books, sports, concerts, cities, farms, animals, mountains, and just about anything that you can include in your list. They just plain like. When you're around them, you'll notice a startling absence of grumbling, moaning, or even passive sighing. If it rains, they like it. If it's hot, they dig it rather than croak about it. If they're in a traffic jam or at a party or all alone, they simply deal with what is there. No pretending to enjoy, but a sensible acceptance of what is and an outlandish ability to delight in virtually everything. Ask them what they don't like, and they are hard-pressed to come up with an honest answer. They don't have sense enough to come in out of the rain. Why? Because they see rain as beautiful, thrilling, and something to experience. They like it. Slush doesn't send them into a fury. They observe it, splash around in it, and accept it as a part of what it means to be alive. Do they like cats? Yes. Bears? Yes. Worms? Yep. You'll be hard-pressed to come up with things, events, people, activities, or ideas that they dislike. They live. While such annoyances as disease, germs, droughts, mosquitoes, floods, and the like are not warmly embraced by NEZ people, they never spend any of their present moments complaining about them or wishing that they weren't so. If situations need to be eradicated, then they will very likely work as eradicators, enjoying themselves and living all of their present moments. Try as you might, you'll have a tough time coming up with something they'll dislike doing. Truly, they are likers of life, and they wallow in all of it, getting out of it all that is possible for them. A NEZ person is free from guilt and all of the attendant anxiety that goes with using up your present moments being immobilized over past events. Certainly, they can admit to making mistakes, and they can vow to avoid repeating certain behaviors that are counterproductive in any way, but they do not waste their time wishing that they hadn't done something